So let's get on. Let's get started with today's immersion gateway, my friends. All right. What do we have today? Today, we're going to be working on expressions, words, and how we can navigate a supermarket experience. This is something that it's quite mundane here. It's quite trivial, right? Well, we go to the supermarket here in Brazil, we buy whatever we have to buy, go home, make our food, and that's it. Apparently, not too much to it. But imagine having this experience in a place where Portuguese is not the first language. Portuguese is not used as a tool of communication. Imagine you are in the US, UK, Australia, wherever you are, a place in which English is the primary language. Depending on how well prepared you are, that might be a bit of a challenge. So we are here to make this not a huge challenge, but an exciting experience that perhaps you will one day live through. How to go to the supermarket, shopping related vocabulary. Here you go. So, as I said, the objective today, we're going to focus on confidently navigating international supermarkets. We're going to equip you with essential English vocabulary and phrases for that. You will learn how to identify and ask for different supermarket sections. You'll be able to name various products and their packaging. You will be able to interact effectively at deli counters, bakeries, and checkouts. And you will understand common measurement units, metric versus imperial, because after all, especially in the US, the imperial system is the system used by the vast majority of places in the vast majority of situations. So we're going to take a look at that and make it easier for you to understand this imperial system, which, in my opinion, and not only my opinion, in the opinion of lots of people around the world, it's quite crazy. It's a crazy system, but it's the system they use. And it's a good thing if we understand at least a little bit of it. Okay, so let's dive into today's gateway. Let's start with useful terms. So as soon as you get to the supermarket, you might be in need of a shopping cart or a trolley, okay? And a shopping cart or trolley is exactly that thing here, this basket-like thing in which we can put all the items we are purchasing or we want to purchase. That's it. Shopping cart or trolley. It has different names in different places, but if you say shopping cart or trolley, virtually anyone that speaks English everywhere in the world will be able to understand what you're talking about. Shopping cart or trolley. All right. You can also have a basket, the simple baskets when you are planning on buying few items, not that many. So it's a very light and quick shopping tour. You can use a basket instead of a shopping cart or trolley. Basket. Cashier, well, that's the person that will be at the checkout once you have finished buying everything you wanted to buy. You will, before leaving the supermarket, you will have to pay for the items. And that's the professional that will help you sort out, and they will charge you for the items you have got. And well, it's been around for a while now, the self checkout, which is a automated system in which there is no need for an extra person to help you sort your items. You yourself is going to do that on a computer screen with the help of a computer, and you will self check out. You will check out yourself. It's become more and more common, and we can find it in virtually any supermarket here in Brazil as well. Just like in our supermarkets, we also have what we call loyalty cards or rewards cards. So those are cards that you sign up for, and if you have those cards, you might have special discounts in all the products, or at least some of the products you are purchasing from that specific supermarket. So that's a good way to save some money. We have the expressions on sale or special offer, and those are items that will be sold for prices that are below the normal or average prices by which they are sold. So they are on sale. They are being sold on a special offer, best prices. And related to special offers and being on sale, you have this acronym here, BOGO. BOGO stands for buy one, get one, which means for each item that you purchase, you're gonna get an identical one for the same price. So you'll be paying 50% for that item, which is just kind of a nice deal depending on the items you're looking for. Right. So those are the useful terms we are starting with. Moving on, we are going to be taking a look at some of the supermarket sections. Okay. What is a section in a supermarket? Well, it's an area in which you're going to find specific types of items. So that helps us find the item we are looking for instead of being spread or scattered around irregularly. No. So each section in a supermarket will offer specific types of items. Let's start with this one here, the produce section. Produce section or fresh produce. So the word produce normally refers to fruits and vegetables. So if you're looking for fruits or vegetables, you are looking for the produce section. And there you will find your apples, bananas, lettuce, spinach, carrots, and all sorts of vegetables, fruits, leaf. Yeah. Our second section here is what we call dairy aisle. And you're going to see the word aisle being used a lot throughout this immersion. And what is an aisle? Well, an aisle is like a sequence of things or in a row from which you can take items in a speaking about a supermarket specifically, of course. So people will transit here. Those are the spaces in which people will transit. And those are the aisles on which you will find the items, okay? The shelves. Right, so the dairy aisle. Dairy is a word related to anything that is related to milk or milk derivatives. So cheese, yogurt, butter. Eggs are not derivated from, they do not derive from milk, but they come from the same place, the farm from which the milk is supplied. So they fall into the same section. They are normally sold in the same section. Dairy, right? But yeah, normally the word dairy referred to milk derivatives. Frozen foods aisle. If you know what a word frozen means, well, when things are kept at a very low temperature, below zero. Temperatures below zero. Minus 15. Yeah, so those are frozen foods. They are frozen in order to be preserved. And in the frozen foods aisle, you will find frozen meals, ready meals, okay? Which are portions of food that are ready to eat, apart from they have to be defrosted first. So you put them in the microwave, and once they are defrosted, they are ready to be consumed. Ready meals. You may find a protein, vegetables, and some sort of carbohydrates. That's a meal, a combination items that make you a dish. It's a meal. So you'll find frozen meals, frozen vegetables, fruits, ice cream as well. So yeah, all your familiar items there must be kept at very low temperatures. We also have the bakery. Ooh, I love the bakery, particularly. I don't really consume many items from the bakery, but I really like a bakery. I like the smell. I like the looks of the items on the display. So yeah, I really enjoy the bakery. So in the bakery, you're gonna find cakes, bread, pastries, and the word pastries here is referring to sweet food, all right? Normally baked sweet items. All right. Oh, Deborah is here with us too. Welcome, Deborah. Who else is here with us? I can't see. I can't really see. All right. Very well. So, moving on. Still talking about the supermarket sections, we have the deli or delicatessen. Delicatessen is the full name, but it's normally referred as deli, a shortened version. At the deli section, you will find more refined items like sliced, processed meat, special types of cheeses, right? Types of cheese, sometimes prepared salads with refined ingredients. So it's in the deli that you find your salami, your blue cheese, gorgonzola, Gouda, all right? Those special types of cheese, your brie. You have to go to the deli. If you like your prosciutto or jamon, Those are very refined types of ham. Prosciutto, jamón. Yeah, very refined types of ham. That's in the deli. It's in the deli they're gonna find them. All right. So at the deli section, you may find ham, turkey, roast beef, Swiss cheese, sometimes different types of salads. Then the section that is beloved by barbecue lovers. If you like a nice and delicious barbecue, well, the meat section is your friend, because is at the meat section you're gonna find what you need for your barbecue. Meat section, or sometimes referred as the butcher. You go to the butcher to buy fresh cuts of meat. And depending on the place, you might see a whole variety of different types of protein, ranging from chicken, beef, lamb, pork, and so on. Okay. Right. Then we have the seafood section, where you may find fresh fish and shellfish. What's shellfish? Well, shellfish is a type of seafood creature. I'll show you. That lives in a shell. Let me just, yeah. Here. Those are examples of shellfish. There you go. So, sea creatures that live inside shells. And a shell is that hard part that protects the soft body of the creature in the sea. So yeah, those are shellfish. And there is a variety of different types of shellfish, mussels, clams, yeah, whole host of different types of shellfish. Okay. All right. Back to the supermarket. Now, for fast preparing and convenience, you may find canned goods to be your allies. And canned goods are nothing more than food in cans, food in metal containers. And they are put there in order to be preserved and in order to make it easier for the consumer, right? I'm not really sure. We here in Brazil, we have this habit of consuming canned food. I can name some items like canned corn or canned green peas and canned tuna and sardines. I think those are the main items we as Brazilians normally consume from a can. But regarding United States, for example, or other countries, they do have a strong culture of consuming canned food, canned beans. And I think Heinz has a very popular product called baked beans, which is a type of kidney bean, white bean, cooked and baked in tomato sauce. And they come in cans, and they are popularly consumed in North America and other English-speaking countries. Soups, yes, soups are a very popular item when it comes to canned food as well in English-speaking countries. Canned. There's another word that you might hear being used referring to the same thing, and the word is tinned foods. Can is the same thing as a tin, right? So the word tin can also be used depending on where you are, depending on the region you are, the country you are. In the UK, I think it's more commonly used the word tin, tinned foods. In North America and other places, the word can is widely used. But you might hear those two words being used in the same country. Okay? Canned or tinned. Now, continuing. Finally, we have the dry goods, or what we call the pantry. The pantry. So here you're going to find items like flour, sugar, coffee, tea, pasta, right? Everything that is dry, that are not infused or are not preserved in any form of liquid. They are dry, which is the opposite of wet. They are dry, so dry goods. Here in our supermarkets, we might find different types of rice and beans and flours. But in an international supermarket, you probably are not going to find the same items we find here in Brazil, okay? Like beans, in the same way we find beans in Brazil, or even the same type of rice we find here in Brazil. They are not very common goods in supermarkets in countries that are of Anglo-Saxon culture, or North America, UK. It's a different culture, so you find different items there. But some items are the same. Flour, sugar, tea, coffee. You'll find them. Pasta, you'll find them just the same. The beverage aisle. That's where you're going to find juices, sodas, water, and even alcoholic drinks. For the joy of some people. Yeah, that's the place you go when you want to buy your wine, your beer, your whiskey, or your vodka, your juice, your pops, your sodas. There you go. Go to beverages. Beverages, that's the word. And the word beverage means exactly that. Anything that can be drunk. Anything that you drink is a beverage. So go to beverages aisle. Snacks aisle for your chips, crackers, cookies, and candies. Snacks. So a snack means a very quick meal, not a hot meal, but a very quick meal. So your Ruffles, your Doritos, your Nachos will be right there. Your Pringles, if you like them, you'll find them at the snacks aisle. Chips. The word chips can also be represented by crisps. Chips or crisps, depending on where you are. Okay, if you go to the UK, if you want Ruffles or Pringles, you might be looking for crisps. In the US, you might be looking for chips. Household items. Well, every house needs to be maintained. We have to keep them tidy, and we have to clean them. So we need cleaning supplies. We need cleaning products. So those items you will find in the household items aisle or cleaning supplies aisle. And there you're going to find detergents, paper, towels. Now, a quick note here, the word detergent, okay? In some places, detergent is not the same thing we have here in Brazil, like detergent. Detergent in Brazil, what does come to your mind when I use the word detergent? That type of liquid soap we use to wash dishes, to wash plates, to wash glasses, to wash forks and knives, right? That's what we call detergent, but not in English-speaking countries. Detergent in English-speaking countries is what we use to wash our clothes, okay? So, omo would be a type of detergent, okay? Yeah. The detergent we use here in Brazil to wash the dishes, we call them wash-up soap. Wash-up soap. That's what we use to wash the dishes, okay? I can't remember any, Minuano, that's the only brand I can remember. A wash-up soap brand here in Brazil. That's the one I buy mostly, I think, because it's cheap and good. Wash-up soap detergent. Right. We should take care not only of our houses, not only of the space we live in, but also to take care of ourselves. Yes. And in order to take care of ourselves, we need other types of products. So we go to the personal care or toiletries aisle. Personal care or toiletries. Okay. Personal care and toiletries. I think the word toiletries is a little bit more, it's a little wider in the sense of what it represents. Toiletries might be talking about products for personal cleaning, your toothpaste, shaving cream, deodorant, moisturizers, whatever that is, in order to take care of you, your skin, your hair, your eyes, your mouth. Okay, those are personal care or toiletries items. Shampoo. Shampoo is the same. Did you know that the word shampoo comes from Hindi? Yeah, it's an Indian word. Shampoo. Yeah, so when the Europeans arrived in India, they invaded India, they noticed that the native population used specific products to wash their hairs. And they asked the name, what is it? Oh, shampoo, shampoo. So the word shampoo was imported into other European languages, English, Portuguese, and other languages. But it came from India. It's an Indian word. Just so you know. Hold for a minute with Phil. Right. International food aisle. This is something very common in international supermarkets, especially in countries in which the presence of immigrants is something prominent. Canada. Think of Canada. Canada is a country that has a huge immigrant population, right? I think one person in six is someone who is not born in Canada. So they have a huge migrant population. So it's only natural that those people would want to, at least sometimes, have access to items they used to have in their original country. So you will find different places, different businesses, but also in supermarkets, aisles that will offer access to international items. When I was in England, when I lived in England, uh, though that was not in the international food aisle, it was in the beverage aisle. But yeah, the beer Brahma was being sold in England. And let me tell you, it was not cheap, okay? And it was being sold kind of like a exotic type of beer. Even the bottle was different. The bottle there, the bottle for the Brahma beer was similar to the bottle, uh, the Corona beer bottle. Do you know the Corona beer, the Mexican beer? It's a transparent bottle. Yeah, Brahma was sold in a bottle that was quite similar to that. So I was surprised to see Brazilian beer being sold in British market supermarkets at and not being cheap. They were kind of considered exotic there. But in the same way, you have international food aisle in which you may find especially Asian items. Yeah, that's quite easy to find. A whole host different type, a whole host of different types of rice and sauces, and yeah, dried meat. Quite interesting. I've always been interested in this part of the supermarkets, looking for new items, international food aisle. And then we have the organic section. If you are really worried about the way your food is grown, your vegetables, well, there you go. You have the organic section in which you will find organic produce. Remember produce from the beginning? Your vegetables and fruits. Yeah, in this case, they will be probably they will be from farms that grow those fruits organically without the use of pesticides, which makes them healthier. Okay, so those were the sections in a supermarket. Now you know how to identify them. Now let's take a look at some key phrases you can use in order to find items. Now, one thing you see here is that, excuse me, could you, those are common and useful ways to start a request. If you're asking for a favor, it's nice to be polite. So you can go like, excuse me, where is the produce section? Where is the produce section? Or excuse me, where is the beverages aisle? Could you tell me where I can find the dairy aisle? Could you tell me where I can find the dairy aisle? Please, I'm looking for the canned tomatoes. Where is the canned foods aisle, please? I'm looking for canned tomatoes. Which aisle is the coffee in? Which aisle is the coffee in, please? So those are phrases you can use in order to find items you are looking for. Now, let's take a look at products themselves and packaging. Common vocabulary related to them. Starting with condiments. Condiments. Yeah, those are items we use as in addition to certain foods. For example, if you're having hot dogs, I personally love my hot dog with mayonnaise, mustard, and a little bit of ketchup. I prefer mustard. So hot dog for me is not a hot dog without mustard, mayonnaise, and ketchup. So I use those condiments. And in the condiment section, you might find ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, olive oil, soy sauce, maybe. different types of oils. Yeah, there's a whole host of different items that can be found under the condiment section. Spices. You might find salt in the spices section, but for sure you will find peppers, oregano, cinnamon, cloves. Do you know what cloves are? Let me show you an image, just in case. Here. Those are cloves, okay? Popularly used on beijinhos here in Brazil, right? Yeah, it's a very traditional dessert. And everybody put a clove in the beijinho bowl. That's a clove. So yeah, you're gonna find those items in the spices section, the spices aisles. Baking items in order to make cake or bread or any type of food that you have to use flour, baking powder, right? Yeast in order to make your dough rise. Yeast is this organic element. It's normally a fungi that, when in contact with sugars in your dough, when you're making cake or making bread, they eat the sugars in the dough. They produce carbon gas. I think so, yeah. What's the name? Carbon dioxide, I think. And they make the dough rise. And that's why your cake is fluffy and your bread is fluffy and soft, because of the yeast. Grains, if you like lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, green peas, I love them. I love them all. And dairy alternatives. If you don't drink milk, cow milk, or you can't drink cow milk, you might resort to soy milk or almond milk or oat milk, which are milk from plants, right? From soy, from almond, or from oat. Those are the most famous alternative types of milk. They can be quite expensive though. So now, in terms of packaging, what type of container or how are those products divided and compartmentalized? So the word carton refers to this plastic or paperish type of container. So in a carton, you might find eggs or milk or juice. Okay, so those are not boxes of milk, though if you say the word box, people will understand maybe. But normally they are referred to as carton. A carton of juice, a carton of milk, a carton of eggs. Now, when the product or the items come in a glass container, we refer to them as jar. It's a glass container with a large and wide opening on top. Those are jars, okay? And your pickles and your jams, yes, they normally come in jars. Now, we have already discussed. Cans or tins. They are metal containers that can hold liquids or solids. And you'll find them in different parts of the supermarket. The beverages aisle or the canned foods aisle. Can. A bag. A bag is normally this soft plastic container in which you find your chips, your nuts, yeah, like Ruffles, and your nachos. Your nachos will come in a bag. A bottle, I think you are quite familiar with the word bottle. That's where you're going to find your water, your beer, your olive oil, they come in bottles. Now, bread is something that can come as a surprise, but in English, the word bread is something that you cannot count because bread is like, it refers to this paste, dough, amorphous thing. That's bread. If you want to make it something that can be counted or turn it into a unit, you might have a loaf of bread. This is a loaf of bread. Or you might have a, let me show you, a bread roll. This is a bread roll. What we call here filãozinho in Piracicaba, in English, can be referred as a bread roll. Though this is specific type of bread roll might not be commonly found in different countries. Okay, if you're planning on going to the United States and you think you're gonna have your filãozinho in the morning, you might be frustrated because you might not be able to find this specific type of bread. Okay, but you'll find other types just as delicious types of bread. Loaf, this is a loaf, large piece, and bread rolls, the small ones. Then you can have a pack or a pot, right? They hold normally paste or liquids inside. So if you're thinking about a yogurt, you can have a pack of yogurt or a pot of yogurt. And a box of cereal. This is a more a more obvious description of this packaging. We have a box of something. Now, let's jump into the comparison between metric and imperial systems. I think that's an important one because it can be quite confusing. In the US, they use a completely different system. Okay, there's nothing to do with kilos and grams and liters that we use. It makes sense. They are quite sensible measuring systems here. I love the metric system. But in some other places, they use this completely different system, the imperial one. So while in Brazil, we use units like grams and kilograms and milliliters and liters. In the US, you're going to use something like ounces, pounds, fluid ounces, pints, quarts, and gallons. Let's take a look at them. So when we're talking about weight, mass, okay, and normally we're talking about solids here. If we're talking about small quantities, okay, something that if here in Brazil we would measure in grams, if we would measure this item in grams, in the imperial system, we're going to use the ounce. Okay, so but what is an ounce? 1 ounce is more or less 28 grams. All right, so if you're looking for, I don't know, 100 grams of mozzarella, I want 100 grams of mozzarella, you would ask something like, please, I'd like 4 ounces of mozzarella. Maybe 4 ounces would be a little bit more than 100, but yeah, it would be in that ballpark. I want 4 ounces of mozzarella, please. Have an example here. Can I get 8 ounces of sliced turkey? 8 ounces of sliced turkey. This is more or less something around 210 grams. 200 grams, okay? Rounding it down. Now, if we would measure something in kilos in the imperial system, we would use the pound. And the pound is more or less half a kilo, okay? Rounding it up, it's half a kilo. 1 pound, half a kilo, more or less. So if you want 1 kilo of something, you might order 2 pounds of that same thing. Please, I want 2 pounds of chicken. That would be roughly the equivalent of a kilo. All right, so yeah, that's the measurement unit we use when we are asking for meat, uh, for ground beef, okay? And the abbreviation here is not very obvious. Pound is abbreviated as LB because it comes from the Latin word libra, okay? So they retained the old abbreviation, even though they use the word pound, which is a more modern word. Pound in English is libra in Latin. So they kept the abbreviation, the Latin abbreviation, but they used the Germanic word. Very confusing. They're crazy. They're crazy. Now, here a quick comparison and conversion between kilograms and pounds. So 1 kilogram is the equivalent of 2.2 pounds. 1 pound is the equivalent of 454 grams. 1 ounce is more or less 20 grams. So 100 grams is roughly 3.5 ounces. Okay, that's the conversion you can have. In my mind, when I have to convert them quickly, well, I go 1 kilo, 2 pounds. 1 pound, half a kilo. Okay, if I don't have to be precise, I think that's a pretty good way to convert them. Now, in terms of fluids, now liquids, those are the measurements we use. Fluid ounce. It's the same word as the previous one, the ounce, but this one is fluid ounce. And a fluid ounce is the equivalent of 30 milliliters, right? So a can of soda normally contains 12 fluid ounces, which is roughly 350, 360 milliliters. Now, when it comes to a pint, and that word is, it might be known by other people. If you like your beer, if you like your pubs, you might know the word pint. But the word pint is actually a unit of measurement, right? And 1 pint is the equivalent of 473 milliliters. It's almost half a liter. Okay, so 1 pint has 16 fluid ounces, and it's the equivalent of half a liter, give and take. Milk is normally sold by pints, by the pints. A quart, it's almost like it's like 2 pints. 1 quart, 2 pints, roughly. And depending on the quantity, if you're talking about bigger bottles, you might refer to them as quarts. And finally, we have gallon. In 1 gallon, it's almost 4 liters. Okay, 1 gallon, it's almost 4 liters. That's the unit of measurement used, especially talking about something other than supermarkets. When we're talking about fuel, if you have to fill the tank of your car, you might buy gasoline by the gallons. Okay, yeah. So yeah. Fluid ounce, pint, quart, gallon. So 1 pint, half a liter. 1 quart, almost a liter. 1 gallon, almost 4 liters. I think that's a quick way to convert if you don't have to be precise. Now, in order to talk about quantity, we have other words that can be used to refer to quantities. Dozen, very similar to our word, Portuguese. Dozen means 12 units. A dozen eggs, 12 units. Half a dozen, 6 units. Half a dozen bagels, half a dozen eggs, half a dozen bananas, 6. A bunch doesn't describe a specific number, but it describes a group of things that are naturally grown together, like a banana, a bunch of bananas. Bananas grow together, right? They grow in a bunch. And then you can have a bunch of bananas. And then you might have 5, 7, 15, 4 bananas. So a bunch is a group of things that are naturally together. Head is the word we use when we're talking about leafy vegetables like lettuce, right? Like what's the name of this? I forgot the name of the other ones. So yeah, lettuce, which we normally use for salad, right? It's a head of lettuce, a head of colored greens, a head of cabbage. Cabbage is another one that's commonly used even here in Brazil. A head. And a punnet. Punnet is a small container, usually for berries like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. Okay, you find those small fruits in small trays or containers. They are called punnet. Not a specific quantity. Yeah. Now, interacting at counters at a deli or bakery or butcher. Those are some phrases you can use in order to get your items. I'd like uh, I'd like 10 ounces of sliced turkey, please. I'd like 6 ounces of sliced turkey, please. Can I get half a pound of ham? Half a pound of ham. Could you slice it thinly? Thinly? Thickly. Thinly? Thickly. Depending on how you want your slice. Maybe the butcher is slicing, or the deli counter, the deli worker is slicing your cheese. You want your cheese very thin or very thick? Thinly, thickly. I'd like a loaf of sourdough bread. Sourdough bread. Sourdough bread, it would be similar to, I think, what we call Italian bread here in Brazil. Okay. Do you have any fresh salmon today? So here you're buying fish, seafood, fresh salmon. Do you have any fresh clams, any fresh mussels? If you want some shellfish. How much is the roast beef per pound? Now you want to know how much you're going to pay for every pound of roast beef. Just a small piece of that cheese, please. A small piece of that cheese, please. Small piece of that cheese. Could you give me 6 rolls? Now we're talking about bread. Bread rolls. So we have small like pilãozinho. That's the bread rolls. Similar. Could you give me 6 rolls, please? And then at a checkout, we have some interesting phrases you might hear or use. Cash or card, when they're asking you about, are you going to pay with cash, money, paper, or card, your credit or debit card? Do you need a bag? Would you like a bag? If you need a bag to carry your items. But bear in mind that some places don't even offer bags, okay? So if you are going to the supermarket, you have to have your own bag depending on the supermarket. So you have to check for that beforehand. Would you like a receipt? So that's the paper in which you will have all the items you have bought and the amount of money you have paid. Your total is, meaning that's the total amount of money you have to pay for the items. Do you have a loyalty card? So if you do, you might get discounts. Paper or plastic. This question might be referring to the bag, okay? Bag type. They might offer paper bags or plastic bags, if they do. And there are phrases you can use at the checkout. Card, please. Or say, I'll pay by card. Or I'll pay by cash, depending on which form of payment you're going to use, card or cash. And if someone offers you a bag, and if you need it, you can go, oh, yes, please, I need a bag. They might charge you. Be mindful of that. Oh, no, thank you. I have my own bag, in case you're carrying your own bag. Could I get a receipt, please? So this word here is pronounced receipt. The P is not pronounced. Could I get a receipt, please? Oh, no, sorry, I don't have a loyalty card. So could you do a price check for this item? Could you do a price check for this item? You're buying it, you're not sure if you want to get this price, if you want to buy it. You just want to know the price. You don't know the price. The price tag was not there in the aisle, so you just ask the cashier, could you do a price check for this item? They check the price, they tell you, and then you decide if you want to keep it or not. Or is this item on sale? On sale meaning, is there any special price for this item? Okay. Yeah, so I think this brings us to our gate immersion. So here, I hope you are more familiar with supermarket shopping terms and words. And should you have any opportunity to go shopping in an English-speaking country, I hope you will now have more power and more command over the language in order to navigate that experience. Okay? All right, so that's it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your audience. And I'm looking forward to our next time together. All right. Thank you very much, my friends. Bye bye. See you then.